Vasudev. No noise. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Any reflections from yesterday's reading? Okay, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to say that as I announced that today we will be doing the memorial ceremony of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, but we moved it to next tomorrow. It's Tuesday. Tomorrow we will have it. We'll continue with our regular reading. Um, so tomorrow we'll have a different kind of program. Okay, so here we are, new Jagannath Puri Dham, right? New Jagannath Puri. Now, um, but Malati found Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, and Prabhupada asked Shyam Sundar to carve Jagannath Baldev Subhadra. Now the devotees worked to set up the rooms, temple hall. They made the nice temple hall, altar and everything. And Prabhupada gave, big session or lecture about Lord Jagannath and devotional service. And devotees were asking questions, right? And the inauguration, welcoming ceremony began. Date installation began. You can hear me well? Okay. Date installation began. And Prabhupada made it simple. What is that? All the devotees will, Kirtan will continue and everyone will start offering the lamp and until one is tried. And they will pass it to the next. That's a very beautiful thing. Any other thing we remember?
The deal did not go through with Mr. Price and they lost $6,000.
Oh, right. We are in the New York now. Am I right? It is mixed up. New York. Prabhupada gave that. Yeah, right. Now, exactly. That was also covered. So Mr. Price is lost $6,000 there in New York. Other would have been got heart attack, but Prabhupada somehow tolerated this situation. Am I right here? This is where we finished, right? Srila Prabhupada from his seat guided Hayagriva in approaching the deity with a lit candle. Some of the girls tittered with nervous expectation before the deity. Srila Prabhupada said, all right, now better begin Kirtan. Prabhupada began playing kartals and singing the Hare Krishna mantra to the popular melody he had introduced in America. Just in front, he called out, gesturing to Hayagriva to stand more directly before the deities. Devotees and guests began rising to their feet and dancing. Arms raised, bodies swaying rhythmically back and forth as they faced the bright personal forms of the deities and chanted. Colored lights within the canopy began flashing intermittently. Blue, you have it? You had it? How did you get it? Oh, you done it? You followed it. That's good. You got very quickly. How did you do that? Yeah. So you searched it. Okay. So colored lights within the canopy began flashing intermittently, blue, red, and yellow. This is an interesting one, highlighting the extraordinary eyes of Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balram. Mukunda, who had arranged the lights, smiled and looked to Swamiji, hoping for approval. Prabhupada nodded and continued forcefully singing Hare Krishna. This one we read it actually. The young hippies were enthusiastic in singing and dancing, knowing that the kirtan usually lasted an hour. Some had grasped the Swami's words when he had spoken of fixing the mind on the personal form of the Supreme Lord. And they had understood when he had looked up at the deities and said, here is Krishna. Others hadn't followed, but thought that it was just great and blissful to sing Hare Krishna and look at the grinning, big-eyed deities up on the altar amid the flowers and billowing incense. Prabhupada watched with pleasure as one person after another took a turn at offering the candle before Lord Jagannath. This was a simple posture for installing the deity. Although in big temples in India, the installation of the deity was a complex, exact procedure requiring several days of continuous rituals directed by highly paid priests. In San Francisco, there were no Brahmana priests to pay, and the many other standards would be impossible to maintain. For non-Hindus, to handle Lord Jagannath and conduct his worship would be considered heresy by the caste conscious Brahmanas of India. Except for Prabhupada, none of the persons present would have been allowed even to enter the temple at Jagannath Puri. The white man, the Westerners, was not allowed to see Lord Jagannath except once a year, as he rode in his cart during a Rath Yatra festival. But these restrictions were social customs, not the scriptural injunctions. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has introduced deity worship and an initiation for anyone, regardless of caste, race, or nationality. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's father, had longed for the day when the people of the West would mingle with their Indian brothers and chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada had come to the West to fulfill the desires and the vision of his spiritual master and of Bhaktivinoda Thakur by creating Vaishnavas among the Westerners. Now, if the Westerners were to become actual devotees, they would have to be given the deity worship. Otherwise, it would be more difficult for them to become purified. Srila Prabhupada was confident in his spiritual master's direction, and in the scriptures, he had faith that Lord Jagannath was especially merciful to the fallen. He prayed that Lord of the universe would not be offended by his reception at New Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. So here, the deity installation began with simple process. He allowed everyone to offer the lamb, because the Krishna in the form of Jagannath is a very merciful. It's unbelievable in how you can treat with Jagannath. We can imagine. Lord is so kind. Anyone can touch Jagannath, but that's not true for Krishna. Krishna and Jagannath same, but that's not true for Krishna. No one should touch Krishna deity, but anyone can touch Jagannath deity. You can embrace Jagannath deity. What a merciful form. You get the same benefit though. So anyway, so here the deity installation began hour long. Everyone offered, and it is said that in India, if you do installation of the deities, long process, a lot of money, and especially so many programs, so many experts needed. But Prabhupada here made in this way, allowed everyone, even though they're not qualified, allowed everyone to worship. And that was the desire of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his father's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we read before, that he wanted that everyone, when the day will come, when people from West also will worship the Lord together and participate in Sankirtan Yajna. However, so Prabhupada allowed, they will not be, people are allowed to Jagannath Puri, enter into the Jagannath. So Prabhupada, no one else can do. There's a place called, Govardhan. We know that in Govardhan, the Govardhan Sila is there. We cannot bring Govardhan Sila, the small rocks from Govardhan mountain, bring and worship. No, we cannot do that. This has to be given by spiritual master or the residents of Vrindavan. Then only we can take. We are not allowed to take. So similarly, deities was given by the spiritual master and pure devotees. Now it says that caste conscious Brahmanas for non-Indian, but for Prabhupada and for Vaishnava Sampradaya, this is available with very, very merciful. Yeah, without giving the deity worship, how they will grow? That's why Prabhupada gave first deity worship as Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, and Jagannath manifested according to his own will. That's we know that. Yeah, okay. Cyclone Prabhu.
When the Kirtana ended, Prabhupada asked Haridasa to bring him the candle. Prabhupada passed his hands across the flame and touched them to his forehead. Yes, he said, show everyone, each and everyone, whatever they can contribute, here, take it like this and show everyone. He indicated that Haridas should present the candle before each person in the room so that all present could touch their hands to the flame as he had shown and touch their foreheads. As Haridas went from person to person, a few devotees dropped some coins on the plate and others followed. Srila Prabhupada explained further. The Bhagavatam has recommended hearing, chanting, thinking, and worshipping. This process, which we just now introduced on the advent of Jagannath Swami, means that now this temple is now completely fixed. So this is the worshipping process. This is called Arati. So at the end of Kirtana, this Arati will go on. And the worshipping process is to take the heat of the light and whatever your condition is, pay something for the worship. So this simple process, if you follow, you just see how you realize the absolute truth. Another thing I request you, all the devotees, when you come to the temple, you bring one fruit and one flower. If you can bring more fruit, more flower, it is very good. If not, it is not very expensive to bring one fruit and one flower and offer it to the deity. So I will request you, when you come to the temple, you bring this, whatever fruit it may be. It does not mean that you have to bring very costly fruit. Any fruit, whatever you can afford, one fruit and one flower. He paused, looking around the room. Yes, now you can distribute prasadam. The guests sat in rows on the floor and the devotees began serving prasadam, offering the first plate to Prabhupada. The food preparations were those Prabhupada had personally taught the devotees in his kitchen. Samosas, halwas, puris, rice, several cooked vegetables, fruit chutney, sweets, all the Sunday specials. The guests loved the prasadam and ate as much as they could get. While the devotees, especially the expert women, served more and more prasadam, the guests relaxed and enjoyed an evening of feasting and convivial conversation. After Prabhupada tasted all the preparations, he looked up with raised eyebrows. Very nice preparations. All glories to the cookers. So here, Prabhupada is explaining about the Aarti. Basically, he shows how he asked Hayagreva to bring the Aarti plate to him, and he shows him where there was a candle. He shows him how they passed his hand. He need to pass his hands and touch them to the forehead. And he asked everyone. He asked Haridas to present it to everyone, and everyone should do the same procedure what Prabhupada showed. And he also asked them to offer like something in the Aarti plate. So as Haridas went from person to person, a few devotees also gave some offering. And Prabhupada explains here that in Bhagavatam, hearing, chanting, thinking, and worshipping is recommended. And today, what he introduced was with the installation of Jagannath deities, the process of worshipping. And he says this is Aarti, and every time at the end of Kirtan, this Aarti will happen, and everyone should worship. We take the Aarti and apply it to the forehead. And then he says that if you do this, and then you will realize the absolute truth. And he also requested all the devotees, whenever they come to the temple, to bring one fruit and one flower. He like it may not be expensive fruit. It can be like whatever you can afford. And if some people can bring more, that is also good. But he asked them to bring that, and then after the Aarti was over, then he said we can start prasadam. The guests, all the devotees, and the guests sat in the floors on the in rows, and then the devotees began prasadam. And this time looks like all the female devotees who were trained under Prabhupada, they did all the cooking. The menu was samosas, halwa, puris, rice, and cooked vegetables, and chutneys and sundae. Everyone loved the prasadam, And the devotees, the women, they like to serve more and more prasadam. And Prabhupada, after tasting, he basically appreciated the female devotees who cooked him.
Sorry, I thought I will share that section to devotees. Sometimes good to share. Okay, Prasanti.
The guests sat in the rows on.
This one, you have to
A
stop.
few minutes later, as the feasting continued, Srila Prabhupada spoke into the microphone. Jagannath Swami Nainapatagami Bhavatume. How would repeat this? Hayagriva swallowed, cleared his throat, and spoke up. Jagannath Swami Nainapatagami Bhavatume. Prabhupada, yes, this should be chanted. Jagannath Swami Nainapatagami Bhavatume. A boy asked what it meant. Hayagriva replied, Oh, Lord of Universe, please be present before me. When Prabhupada noticed an older, respectably dressed man leaving the room without receiving a feast plate, Prabhupada became concerned. Oh, why is he going away? Ask him to come. A boy ran after him, opening the temple door and calling, Please don't leave, Swamiji requests. As the man re entered the storefront, Prabhupada requested, please take prasadam. And turning to the servers, he instructed, Give him first. And so the feasting continued beneath the altar of Lord Jagannatha and under the auspicious of his servant Srila Prabhupada. The next day, acting on a whim, the devotees took the Jagannatha deity off the altar and carried him to Golden Gate Park for a kirtana. Within minutes, hundreds gathered in the meadow below Hippie Hill, dancing and chanting around Lord Jagannatha. After several hours, the devotees returned him to the altar. Prabhupada disapproved. The deity should never leave the temple. The deities don't go out to see the people except on special occasions. They, they are not for parks. They are not for parks for birds to drop stool on. If you want to see the deities, you have to visit them. Lord Jagannatha's presence quickly beautified the temple. Devotees made garlands for him daily. Jadurani's paintings of Lord Vishnu arrived from New York, and Govinda Dasi had painted a large portrait of Srila Prabhupada, which now hung beside his seat. Devotees also put Indian prints of Krishna on the walls. The lights flashing upon Lord Jagannatha made his eyes seem to pulsate and his colors move and jump, and he became a special attraction in the psychedelic neighborhood of Hyde-Ashbury. As Prabhupada had requested, devotees and guests began bringing offerings before the altar of Lord Jagannatha. Hippies would come by and leave whatever they could: a stalk of wheat, half a loaf of bread, a box of saltines, a piece of fudge, or candles, flowers, or fruit. Hearing that before using something for yourself, you should first offer it to God, some hippies began bringing their new clothes and offering them with a prayer to Lord Jagannatha before wearing them. These hippies did not follow Lord Jagannatha's instructions, but they wanted his blessings. Prabhupada asked, so while they were having prasadam, Prabhupada asked Howard to repeat the Jagannatha Swami mantra, Jagannatha Swami Nainapatagami Bhavatume. So he started repeating, and one boy asked what that means, and he gave the meaning that, oh, it is the Lord of Universe present, please be present before me. And then Prabhupada noticed one older person was leaving, and then he became concerned and asked the devotee to go and get him so that he can take prasadam. So they offered him prasadam. Prabhupada instructed to give the prasadam to him first, and then the feasting continued. Um, and the next day, all the devotees took Jagannatha deity from the altar to the park for a kirtana, and many people
Now let me cover part. I will cover this funny part. This is not providing in a way. It's really funny.
Yeah.
First deity installed. They have no idea what is deity. Anyway, they took Jagannath to the park one devotee without asking. They thought they had no idea how to treat them. So suddenly, and all the people gathered, and then one devotee comes and asks Prabhupada, Prabhupada, come, which book it is, more details. I don't know where it is. So what? So Jagannath in the park. What? So Prabhupada immediately ran and came to the park, and he participated in the kirtan when he saw Jagannath was sitting there on a mat or something like that, and devotees there. So he continued the kirtan. Then later he gives, they don't know what it is. They took like a toy to the park. Now you continue. Prasant, you continue now. Sorry, I don't know if you could hear or not.
So he instructed the devotees not to take deities outside of the temple. It is only for special occasions. So Lord Jagannath's presence beautified the temple, and they gave him garlands every day. And the paintings from New York arrived. Jadurani painted Lord Vishnu, and Govinda Dasi had painted a portrait of Srila Prabhupada, which they hung beside his seat. And devotees also put the paintings of Krishna on the walls in the temple. And the attraction was Lord Jagannatha, where the lights were flashing and the colors move and jump. So that was a special attraction for all the psychedelic neighborhood of Haitashpuri. And as Prabhupada instructed, everybody, like guests and devotees, started offering something they could, like wheat or loaf of bread, saltines, candles, flowers, fruit, whatever they can. And they also got their new clothes to offer them in the prayer before wearing them. Yeah, that's all.
Very nice. Why we are reading, these small incidents educates us a lot. With your reading, just couple of, we learned how we take heat, offer to the Lord, and then we learn how to contribute to that arti, whatever it is one can do. Then bring one flower, one fruit, or actually Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in devotional that one should not come empty-handed to Krishna. You know that? And that's in the Vedic culture, still there, but we don't know. One should not come empty-handed to Krishna, at least bring something. And here people didn't know, but just by hearing Prabhupada, they started doing that culture, and bread and whatever they're bringing. There's so many incidents that it happens, but that's the way it is. The etiquettes needs to be followed. AJ?
Each night, the devotees performed the Arati ceremony just as Prabhupada had taught them, taking turns offering a candle before Lord Jagannath. When the devotees asked whether they could add anything to the ceremony, Prabhupada said yes, they could also offer incense. He said there were many more details of deity worship, numerous enough to keep the devotees busy 24 hours a day, but if he were to tell them everything at once, they would faint. Speaking privately in his room to one of his disciples, Prabhupada said that during kirtan in the temple, he thought of Lord Chaitanya dancing before Lord Jagannath. He told how Lord Chaitanya had traveled to Puri and danced before Lord Jagannath in such ecstasy that he had been unable to say anything more than jug jug. Lord Chaitanya had been thinking, Krishna, for so long I wanted to see you, and now I am seeing you. When Lord Chaitanya had lived in Puri, as many as 500 men at a time would visit him, and every evening there would be a huge kirtan with 4 parties, each with former Dringa players and 8 kartal players. One party this side, one party this side, Prabhupada explained, one party back side, one party front side, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the middle. They would all dance, and the 4 parties would chant Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. That was going on every evening, so long he stayed in Jagannath Puri. The devotees understood that there was a great difference between themselves and Swamiji. He had never been a hippie. He wasn't at home amid the illusion of Haight-Ashbury's LSD, psychedelic posters, rock musicians, hippie jargon, and street people. They knew he was different, though sometimes they forgot. He spent so much time with them every day, eating with them, joking with them, depending on them, but then sometimes they would remember his special identity. When they chanted with him in the temple before Lord Jagannath, he, unlike them, would be thinking of Lord Chaitanya's kirtan before Lord Jagannath in Puri. When Lord Chaitanya had seen Jagannath, he had seen Krishna, and his love for Krishna had been so great that he had gone mad. Prabhupada thought of these things to a degree far beyond what his disciples could understand, and yet he remained with them as their dear friend and spiritual instructor. He was their servant, teaching them to pray like him, to be able to serve Krishna. O Lord of the universe, kindly be visible unto me. So, so they were holding, they were conducting deity worship every night, and Prabhupada said, the devotees started saying, hey, what else can we do? What else can we add things to the ceremony? And he said, yeah, you can also offer incense. And he told them that there's, so much you can do that you can stay busy all day, just with deity worship. But if he told them everything, they'd go nuts. It's just too much to handle. And then he was talking to one devotee and telling him about how, Lord Chaitanya's kind of madness and ecstasy when he saw Jagannath, I guess for the first time, and how, he was so excited to see him, and was kind of just letting them know this is what was going on when Chaitanya was staying in Jagannath Puri, that there was just like a massive kirtan every night with different groups everywhere. And then they, it gets into how the way that Prabhupada viewed the kirtan in front of Jagannath was very different than how the devotees did. And that kind of struck them, and saying, hey, like, you know what, we spend a lot of time with this guy, and he's our friend, and he's our, our spiritual master, but he's different. He sees things differently. He does things differently. He doesn't really belong here, right? He's not of this place. He's of a very different place. But he stays with us anyway, and he's teaching us, he's teaching us to pray. He's teaching us to be able to serve, and, teaching them, how to make Krishna visible to them.
Thank you. For Prabhupada, they had a very deep reverence because they have seen, unfortunately, we haven't not met personally, but why these people are still dying, jumping even after, 40 years after Prabhupada's disappearance. Why? Because they've seen personally. Fortunate souls. But we are seeing also, we are seeing, but somehow they got the direct association. They know what is Prabhupada. That's why they are, by hearing Prabhupada, about Prabhupada, they always jump. Nipa?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, read, please.
Govinda Dasi had a question for Swamiji. He had mentioned briefly that Lord Chaitanya used to cry in separation from Krishna and had once even thrown himself into river, crying, "Where is Krishna?" She was unsure whether her question would be proper, but she waited for an opportunity to ask. One evening after the lecture, when Prabhupada asked for questions and there were none, Govinda Dasi thought, this is my chance, but she hesitated. Her question wasn't on the subject of his lecture, and besides, she didn't like to ask questions in public. No question. Srila Prabhupada looked around. Govinda Dasi thought Swamiji seemed disappointed that there were no questions. He had said several times that they should ask questions and clear up any doubts. Again, he asked, "Have you got any questions?" Govinda Dasi, well, could you tell about Lord Chaitanya asking Prabhupada, Govinda Dasi asking, "Where is Krishna?" Prabhupada, Govinda Dasi, could you tell about Lord Chaitanya asking, "Where is Krishna?" and falling in in the water, or would that be not? Prabhupada smiled. Yes, yes, very nice. Your question is very nice. Oh, I am very glad. Lord Chaitanya, he was the greatest Krishna Bhakti devotee of Krishna. So just see from his life, he never said that I have seen Krishna, never said I have seen Krishna. He was mad after Krishna. That is the process of Chaitanya philosophy. It is called viraha. Viraha means separation. Separation. Krishna, you are so good. You are so merciful. You are so nice. But I am so rascal. I am so full of sin that I cannot see you. I have no qualification to see you. So, in this way, if one feels the separation of Krishna, Krishna, I want to see you, but I am so disqualified that I cannot see you. These feelings of separation will make you enriched in Krishna consciousness. Feelings of separation. Not that Krishna, I have seen you, finished, all right, I have understood you, finished, all my business, finished. No, perpetually think of yourself that I am unfit to see Krishna, that will enrich you in Krishna consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed this these feelings of separation. This is Radharani's separation. When Krishna went from Vrindavana to his place, his father's place, Radharani was feeling in that way, always mad after Krishna. So Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the separation feeling of Radharani. This is the best way of worshipping Krishna, becoming Krishna conscious. So you know that Lord Chaitanya fell on the sea. Krishna, if you are here, Krishna, if you are here. In these, Govinda says that Govinda Dasi had a question, but and Swamiji had briefly mentioned about Lord Chaitanya to cry for the separation from Lord Krishna, and once even thrown himself into river crying and asking about Krishna. Govinda Dasi was unsure to ask and was waiting for the right opportunity to ask this question. One evening after the lecture, Prabhupada asked if anyone has any questions, and Govinda Dasi was thinking this is the chance, but she was hesitating at the same time. Her question wasn't on the subject of the lecture, but she didn't like to ask questions also in public. So Prabhuji asked again, no questions, looked around, and Govinda Dasi seemed disappointed. There were no questions. He had several asked, should ask questions. Prabhuji has told many of them to ask questions. And he asked again if anyone has questions. Govinda Dasi was still thinking, and then finally asked about Lord Chaitanya asking, and Prabhupada is asking, like, you know what? So Govinda Dasi is like, where is Krishna? And Prabhupada is like, he's waiting, and then Govinda Dasi completes the question saying, could you tell about Lord Chaitanya asking, where is Krishna and falling in the river? And would that be not? And Prabhupada smiled and said, yes, yes, that's a very nice question. I'm very glad that you asked. So then he says, Lord Chaitanya is the greatest symbol of Krishna Bhakti, a devotee of Krishna. So just from his life, if you see, he never said that I never seen Krishna, never said it that way. The process of Lord Chaitanya philosophy, it is called as viraha, which means separation. Krishna, he says you are good, you are merciful, you're nice, but he says at the same time that I am a rascal and full of sin, that I cannot see you. I don't have that qualification to see you. So in this way, one feels the separation. That's how he explains. But feelings of separation, and know that Krishna, I have seen you. You finished. All right, I have understood you. Finished all my business. No, perpetually think of yourself that I'm unfit to see Krishna. That is what Prabhuji explains, and that will enrich your Krishna consciousness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed these feelings of separation. It's also called as Radharani's separation. When Krishna went from Vrindavan to his place, his father's place, Radharani was feeling in that way. always mad after Krishna. So Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the separation feeling of Radha Rani. This is the best way how one should be worshipping or becoming Krishna conscious. So Lord Chaitanya fell on the sea. Krishna, if you're here, Krishna, if you're here. That's how he explains.
Very, very, very nice points. So there are two things. One is inquiring. Yeah, we should not have used this inquiry, but questions has to be, because questions invoke the Krishna's pastime. Basically, when we ask genuine questions about Lord Krishna to devotees, spiritual master, what happens? Krishna manifests. That's why Prabhupada encouraging everyone should ask questions that invokes Krishna Katha, and that's the medicine. That's the medicine for everybody. That's the best thing. And another thing is, I have seen also many people that suggest, oh, I have seen Krishna. I had a dream. No, we don't reveal all these things, stuff. But here the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving example, even though he feels that he has never seen that kind of taste. So always serving Krishna as if we have never met. We have to hanker for him. Not like, okay, I came to temple. Last week I was in temple. I will come after 3 months. So anyway, Vijayanand Prabhu.
Similarly, the next devotees, Lord Chaitanya's direct disciples, the Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they also the same disciplic succession. They also worship Krishna in that separation feeling. There is a nice verse about them. Srila Prabhupada sang, He Radhe Vraja Devike Cha Lalite He Nanda Suno Kutaha Shri Govardhana Kalpa Padapa Tale Kalindi Vane Kutaha Gosantau iti sarvato vrajapure keder mahavihvalo vande rupa sanatanau ragau yogau Sri Jiva Gopalakau.
If it's okay, I will repeat the same verse again. He Radhe Vrajadevi Chalalite He Nanda Suna Kutaha Sri Govardhana Kalpa Padapa Tale Kalindi Vane Kutaha Gosanta Viti Sarvato Brajapure Khede Maha Vivalo Banderupa Sanatana Raghujugao Sri Jiva Gopalako. Please.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are chanting very loudly everywhere in Vrindavana, shouting, Queen of Vrindavana, Radha Rani, O Lalita, O son of Nanda Maharaja, where are you all now? Are you just on the hill of Govardhana, or are you under the trees on the bank of the Yamuna? Where are you? These were their modes in executing Krishna consciousness. These Goswamis also, later on, when they were very much mature in devotion service, what are they doing? They were daily in the Vrindavana Dhamma, just like a madman. Krishna, where you are? That is the quality. It is a very nice question. Srila Prabhupada paused and uttered a thoughtful He remained silent. They also remained silent. Watching him, he sat cross-legged on the back velvet pillow on the redwood dais. His hands were folded, his eyes closed, and he became overpowered by inner feelings of ecstasy. Although the simple devotees present could not know what was happening, they could see him enter a deep inward state. They could feel the atmosphere transform into awesome devotional stillness. They kept their eyes fixed on him. So this passage starts with a verse which mentioned like the similar kind of separation feeling, like the Chaitanya's direct disciples, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, since they are also of the same disciplic succession, they also reflected the same separation feeling, and there was the verse mentioned here, and which says like all the six Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Santan Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunatha Das Goswami, and Sri Jiva Goswami, and Gopala Bhatta Goswami, they were like chanting loudly in Vrindavana, shouting, mentioning Queen of Vrindavana, Radharani, and the son of Nanda Maharaja, where are you now? And they were asking like, if are you on the hill of Govardhana or under the bank of Yamuna? Where are you? So this is the mood in which they were like executing the Krishna consciousness. So basically, they are also reflecting the same separation feeling. And these Goswamis like are very much mature in devotional service, and like they were doing daily Vrindavana Dhamma, just like a madman mentioning Krishna, where are you? And that was the quality. And for after mentioning this verse, and he mentioned that the question was a nice question, and Prabhupada remained silent, and everyone remained silent. And Prabhupada was like in a still, he was standstill, like he was sitting and his hands folded and his eyes closed, and like and the people present here, simple devotees, could not understand like what is going on there, and could not know what is happening also. But they could see that Swamiji has entered into a like deep inward state, and but still they kept their eyes fixed on them.
Yes, that's it. This is very, very beautiful, very deep verse. That's a Prabhupada trying to deep in samadhi of that. Pranath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. A minute and a half passed. Srila Prabhupada uttered another thoughtful and opened his eyes. They were filled with tears. He reached over and grasped his kartals, which rattled in his hand. But he moved no further. Again he withdrew from external consciousness. Another minute of silence passed. The minute seemed extremely calm, yet intense and long. Another minute passed. After almost 4 minutes, Prabhupada cleared his throat and struck the kartals together, beginning the slow rhythm. A devotee began the one note drone on the harmonium. Prabhupada sang, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya, building the chanting to a lively pace. After about 10 minutes, the kirtan stopped and Prabhupada left the room. As devotees rose and began their various duties, some leaving out the front door behind Prabhupada and going to the kitchen, others coming together for conversation, they all knew that their spiritual master had been intensely feeling separation from Krishna. They had no doubt that it was a deep ecstasy, because just by being in his presence during that long and special stillness, they also had felt a glimmer of the same love for Krishna. On the invitation of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada agreed to hold a kirtan on the beach. On a Tuesday night, with no kirtan or lecture scheduled in the temple, he got into the back seat of one of the devotees' cars. About a dozen initiated followers and a couple of dogs got into other cars, and together they traveled to the beach. When they arrived, some devotees went running across the beach, gathering driftwood and building a fire in the shelter of a sand dune. The late afternoon air was cool and there was a seaside wind. Prabhupada was dressed in a long checkered coat over a hooded sweatshirt. During the kirtan, he clapped and danced with the devotees while the devotees joined hands, forming a circle around him. As the sun was setting, all the devotees faced the ocean, raising their arms and singing as loudly as they could. Hari Bol! But with the surf pounding in on the coast and with a great expanse of windy air around them, the kirtan sounded very small. So, started with Prabhupada, being in ecstasy, um, closing his eyes, meditating on Krishna. And for several minutes, he was quiet. Uh, um, and then he played a little bit of the kartal, um, and then stopped, and then after a few minutes did some kirtan, and then he left the room. All the devotees understood there that he was really overpowered by inner feelings of ecstasy, and although the devotees did not really have uh, an idea of what was happening, but they could see that Prabhupada was really very internalized, and in a um, that they kept their eyes fixed on him. And after some time, Prabhupada um, started singing. One of the devotee was playing in harmonium. Prabhupada sang, and then after 10 minutes, he stopped the kirtan and left the room. And so, devotees were carrying on with their activities, services, uh, but they could they all knew that Prabhupada was feeling separation from Krishna, uh, and they also felt, a glimmer of that um, love for Krishna. And then on a Tuesday night, when there was nothing going on in the temple or scheduled in the temple, Prabhupada, along with some of his initiated disciples, agreed to have a kirtan on the beach. And they all traveled to the beach, and built a fire in the shelter, and then they did some kirtan there. But the wind was really very loud. They were all chanting, raising their arms, facing the ocean during sunset. But on the coast, it was very windy and loud, so the kirtan didn't, was not loud enough. Somewhere I read, Prabhu, that in one of the videos I heard that they described that when Prabhupada, uh, closed his eyelids, under his eyelashes, as if Prabhupada, Krishna was there. Prabhupada could see Krishna in his eyelashes. His disciples described. I was watching one video of, following Srila Prabhupada. DVDs are there in there, that he would close his eyes and
That's true. Sometimes, that's what it is. When we close your eyes, if you can, we all can do immediate test. For 5 seconds, everyone close your eyes and open your eyes now.
darkness.
That's the point. What did we see? Darkness, right? So, but that's not because devotees pure devotees do not see from these eyes, physical eyes. They're from the heart.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Saying,
as Lord Brahma says. Sorry?
No, Prabhu, go ahead. Sorry.
Lord Brahma said, one's eyes, when it's anointed with the love for Krishna. That's what anointed means. For pure devotees, Prabhupada's eyes were anointed with love for Krishna. It's a different thing. When we have deep love for our child, even if we close, I'm saying deep, intense love for our child. And I'm giving example because it's very easy to say that. So you know that their child is so sweet and they're always there. So it's a mundane example. So for pure devotees, Krishna is always there, actually. Not even a millimeter far. It's always within, so close to the Lord. You go ahead. Tell me, you're saying something.
Yeah, I was also, earlier we were discussing about taking the deities outside the temple, right? That Prabhupada was upset that these disciples were taking the deities out of the temple, that we
Right.
should not, unless. in one of the lectures I heard, or in the videos, I saw that at that time, some of the devotees had this Jagannath locket, not just the deity's Jagannath locket, and Prabhupada told to take it out before going to the restroom.
I missed what is.
Your screen is frozen, I think, Prabhu. I said that I can't hear you. Are you all able to hear, Prabhuji?
No.
No, it's frozen.
The screen is frozen, yeah.
No.
So,
Oh, Prabhu, you're back. So looks you were frozen, Prabhu,
yeah, I'm frozen. Yeah, but I will not talk because my internet is not good. Who else is? I can go. Please continue.
Sure, Prabhu. The late afternoon air was cool and there was a seaside wind. Prabhupada was dressed in a long checkered coat over a hooded sweatshirt. During the kirtan, he clapped and danced while the devotees joined hands, forming a circle around him. As the sun was setting, all the devotees faced the ocean, raising their arms and singing as loudly as they could. Hari Bol. But with the surf pounding in on the coast and with the great expanse of windy air around them, their kirtan sounded very small. Getting around the fire, the devotees buried foil-wrapped potatoes and foil-wrapped apples filled with raisins and brown sugar under the coals. It was their idea, but Prabhupada was happy to comply with their ideas of California Kirtan fun. Haridas and Hayagriva had composed a song about the sage Narad Muni and they sang it for Prabhupada. Do you know who is the first eternal spaceman of this universe? The first to send his wild, wild vibrations to all. Let me just toss the screen share, I think.
We lost him.
I was suspecting this will happen a few minutes before when I saw the screen froze. Luckily, we didn't get kicked out.
Yeah.
We're on chapter 24.
Yes.
He's back.
I was gonna say I'll just share my screen, but he's got it locked down, so I can't.
Just 1 second. 1 second. If I'm fixing, I'm sorry this happened. I'm fixing my internet. I'm sure it's going to be fixed. Just. Is it better now, my voice?
So far, yeah.
Okay. Hopefully, yeah. We have 10 more minutes. We can. Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
I think the screen share is not there, Prabhu. Should I read it from my...
Oh, it's not there? No, okay, I have it. I'll give it 1 minute. Okay. You can see now?
Yes. Haridas and Hayagriva had composed a song about the sage Narad Muni, and they sang it for Prabhupada. Do you know who is the first eternal spaceman of this universe? The first to send his wild, wild vibrations to all those cosmic superstations. For the song he always shouts, sends the planets flipping out. But I will tell you before you think me loony that I'm talking about Narad Muni, singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada laughed. He liked anything that had chanting in it, and he asked them to compose more such songs for their countrymen. Walking together along the beach, they came upon an old dilapidated Dutch windmill. Mukunda, Prabhupada said, you should approach the government and tell them that we will restore this windmill if they let us build a temple on this site. Mukunda took it as a joke at first, but then he saw that Prabhupada was completely serious. Mukunda said he would inquire about it. Prabhupada in his oversized checkered coat, buttoned up to the neck, and was the beloved center of the devotees' outing. After they walked, he sat with them on a big log, eating baked potatoes smeared with melted butter, and when he finished, he threw his remnants to the dogs. As the night grew dark, stars appeared high over the ocean, and the devotees stood close around Prabhupada for the last kirtan. Then, just as in the temple, they bowed down, and Prabhupada called out the prayers to the Lord and the disciplic succession. But he ended, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the Pacific Ocean. They all laughed. Swamiji was doing what his disciples wanted, enjoying an evening kirtan cookout on the beach with them, and they were doing what he wanted, chanting the Maha Mantra, becoming devotees of Krishna and becoming happy. So here, the Prabhupada and the devotees were having kirtan at the beach, and basically they formed a circle with the fire in the center, and everyone was chanting and singing as loudly as they can. But it was still, compared to the windy air and the noise of the waves hitting the coast, the kirtan still sounded small. And the devotees bought foil wrapped potatoes and foil wrapped apples, and they put them under the fire. So they were doing like a cookout while they were having the kirtan. And then Haridas and Hayagriva composed a song about Narada Muni, which they sang, and Prabhupada appreciated that. And they said, you need to compose more of those songs, and so that more Americans can hear. And he liked anything which had the Maha Mantra name in it. And while they were walking, they saw old windmill, and Prabhupada told Mukunda that if their government will allow them, they can build a temple. They can basically restore that windmill. Mukunda thought it was a joke, but when he saw that Prabhupada was serious, he said he would inquire. And then after their walk, they all sat down, they ate those baked potatoes, and once the night grew dark, they had a last kirtan, and after that they all bowed down, and Prabhupada offered the prayers, and he ended with all glories to the assembled devotees and the Pacific Ocean. And they all enjoyed that evening. The disciples wanted Prabhupada to participate in an kirtan cookout, and Prabhupada wanted the devotees to chant the Maha Mantra and become devotees of Krishna, and they were all happy.
Nice. We should have, AJ, maybe you can lead. We should have American version of party. American version of party we should have. Many of our devotees have not attended. I have attended many. Marshmallows and this, that, in a different way.
Little bonfire, I'm in.
We should have similar, just have a different experience. Now see the baked potatoes wrapped in aluminum foil and all this thing, the different varieties. We should plan sometimes. Maybe you should lead it.
We'll do it at your house.
Yeah, no problem. And we have a 3 acres somewhere else in the temple.
Perfect.
Okay, who's reading next? Prasanthi?
Hayagriva sat facing Prabhupada, alone with Prabhupada in his room. A few days before, Hayagriva had shown Prabhupada a play about Lord Chaitanya he had found in the library, and Prabhupada had said it wasn't bona fide. So Prabhupada decided to prepare an outline for a bona fide play and have Hayagriva write it. I will give you the whole plot complete, Prabhupada said. Then all you will have to do is execute it. Prabhupada was in a relaxed, jolly mood, intent on relating the events of Lord Chaitanya's life. He had prepared an outline of 23 scenes, and now he wanted to expound each one. Hayagriva had barely enough time to understand what Prabhupada was about to do, and almost no time to prepare himself for note-taking as Prabhupada began describing the first scene. He began. is that people are passing on the road with Sankirtana just as we do. There is a very nice procession with Mridanga and Kartals and that bugle and all people are doing Sankirtana in the ordinary way. We have to make a nice procession. The second scene shows Kali as decorated blackish with royal dress and very ugly features, and his queen is another ugly featured lady. So they are disturbed. They will talk among us themselves that there is the Sankirtana movement now. So how shall we prosecute our business in this age of quarrel, Kali Yuga? In that scene, there will be in one corner 2 or 3 people drinking. The scene will be like that. The age of quarrel personified and his consort are sitting in the center. In one corner, someone is taking part in drinking, and another part, somebody is illicitly talking of lust and love with a woman. In another section, there is slaughtering of a cow, and in another section, gambling. In this way, that scene should be adjusted. And in the middle, the ugly man, Kali, and the ugly woman will talk that we are now in danger. The Sankirtana movement has been started. What to do? In that way, you have to finish that scene. Then the third scene is very nice, Rasa dance. Hayagriva interrupted. He had some of his own ideas, but what he called the dramatic point of view, I think, Hayagriva said, strongly articulating his words, this can apply for the whole world in the sense that the names may be Indian, but I think the exhibition you described of the assembly of Kali and his consort Sin and the exhibition of illicit sex and slaughterhouse can all be for Western prototypes. Srila Prabhupada said that he had no objection to Hayagriva's suggestion, but that he didn't want people to think he was singling out Westerners, as if they were the only ones who committed illicit sex. Hayagriva was about to reply, but decided that this was no time to quibble. Swamiji was eager to go on describing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada, Rasa dance means Krishna and Radharani in the center and gopis are surrounding. You have seen that surrounding scene when they were dancing with us the other day in the park hand to hand. Hi Griva, yes, yes. Hayagriva had suggested a play to Prabhupada from what he found in the library, but Prabhupada said it was not bona fide, and he himself would explain the play to him, and he will give him the whole plot and he just have to execute it. And Prabhupada was in a very good mood, and he prepared the outline of 23 scenes. Hayagriva don't had barely any time to note or to prepare himself. So the Prabhupada explained the first scene. On the road, some people will be passing, and they are doing some sankirtana, and they are having the mridanga, kartals, and bugle, and in the like it's an ordinary sankirtana which all people do, and Prabhupada asked to make it a nice procession. And the second scene is Kali. Um, is decorated in a royal dress with ugly features, and
It's not Kali, it's Kali.
Oh, sorry.
Kali personified, yeah.
Kali, and Kali, and then his queen is another ugly lady. So they are disturbed with this Sankirtana moment. And he also asked them to create some scenes like all the four things that were going on in Kali Yuga, like drinking, gambling, slaughtering the cow, and illicit sex. So Hayagriva suggested to use the foreigners for that because this is very common in the Western country. But Prabhupada suggested that he doesn't want to start singling out Westerners as if they were the only ones committing illicit sex. And Haigriva was quiet. And then Swamiji started explaining the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And he explained Rasa dance. He suggested that it was Krishna and Radharani in the center, and everybody is surrounding and holding hands and dancing. And then Haigriva said yes to that.
Very well. Thank you so much. AJ got a good kiss and so nice. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we will be, as we discussed, tomorrow we'll have a memorial ceremony of His Holiness Bhakti Chaudhary Sai Maharaj planned. Please join on time. So we'll have dedicate that time. And if time permits, we might continue in reading. So today we will. It is nice. What I was trying to say is that now another interesting piece is coming. Prabhupada introducing is the plays. This is the first time the play is going to take place. It's never done so far. The first play is coming, and it's going to bring a revolution again. It's going to be very attractive. So we have a few minutes. Any reflections? Anything anyone wants to say? We learned about Prabhupada asking how you come to temple, bring offerings a little bit, and about Arti Thali. We learned about, taking devotees going out, beach. I thought it is beach, right? Yeah, it's beach. And what else we did? Jagannath went to park. So Prabhupada said, no, he doesn't go just like that.
The process of separation.
Yes, that's very nice. That's the one thing. We shouldn't be like Sahajias. Oh, I know we shouldn't be so puffed up, have seen Krishna. We should always serve the Lord in separation. The more we see, more we serve, more we hanker for it. Serving in separation. Nice. Anything else?
It's always striking to me how quick things are moving too. In terms of Prabhupada gets here, he's in New York for a short period of time, right? And then heads to California and leaves the New York guys in charge. And then now, it's just like, man, it's like everything's resting on guys that have been doing this for 6 months or not even a year. And it's wild to see just how it's like a tenuous grasp that he had, right? I mean, the seeds were barely rooted yet, so it's pretty wild to see.
And now once he has established his centers, they are going to be whatever is done in one center that goes to all over the centers. That's it's communication, and it spreads all over. We will see that magic is going to happen. How fast it moved, like a wildfire at no time. Okay, thank you so much. Please get prepared for tomorrow. We'll a few more people will join devotees, I'm sure, for the ceremony. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.